Mickey Mouse was at a party with some co-workers, and he brought Minnie along, and Daffy was like, meeting Minnie for the first time, and Daffy was like, "Oh, Minnie's quite intelligent. You said she was pretty dumb." Mickey turns around and says, "No, what I said was she's fucking goofy." I've been holding on to that one all week.
That one's awful. Like, that's not. It doesn't even make any sense. Because why is Mickey Mouse going to a party with co-workers? What co-workers does he have? And also, why would he just be throwing out that his girlfriend's cheating on him in a funny manner? That's just mad. And also, why would she be sleeping with Goofy? Goofy's actually like, he's a really, really good, dependable single dad, and he always puts his kids first. He's not going to be mucking about with someone else's girl, is he?
I don't know. Maybe he was looking for. Maybe Mickey didn't like treat her right, and he was like,
"That's not an excuse for cheating." And also, like, why is he holding on to her? Like, just that joke paints these beloved childhood characters in a terrible light.
I mean, Mickey is probably a dickhead.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and like you say, Goofy's an upstanding guy, so maybe he was being like, well, you could be a good mum for Max, and do you only have the one kid?
I don't know.
I can't remember. But maybe there's a deeper meaning to this. There's probably more backstory, but I haven't really got time to go into it.
Who were his co-workers?
Daffy. Doubt Pluto's there.
Who's Daffy? Daffy's from Warner Brothers. So what the hell's going on?
Did I say Daffy or did I say...
Yeah, you said Daffy.
Oh, I don't know. Who cares? It's a joke.
It's a crap one.
Well, that's the tradition, isn't it? Start with a crap joke. Oh, Donald. Donald's the Disney duck, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Have you played Stardew Valley?
Yes. I'm playing Stardew Valley at the minute, and I always play games as good as possible. Like, I don't like to do evil things, but Stardew Valley brings out the absolute worst in me. And not in a conventional way either, because you can't really be evil in it. But I absolutely hate Clint.
Why?
I hate Clint with a fiery passion. He's such a weenie.
He's a bit creepy, isn't he? I've just read it. I was thinking of I'm thinking of the one that's not unlike Stardew Valley, but it's Disney.
Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That was the connection. I wasn't just randomly throwing out a video
I was
game.
wondering about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You accepted it, though. You were like, okay, fine, we're just going to go on this random tangent.
I'm playing Stardew Valley, like, not right this very second, but that's my current game that I'm playing. And this time, I've started a fresh farm, and I want to do different things in the game. So I'm already planning ahead and, planning to marry someone different or whatever. But every time I start the game up, I hate Clint with such a fiery passion that I have to romance and eventually marry Emily just to spite him, just to upset him. It brings out just an evil side of me that's like, because all he does is whine about like, oh, I wish Emily had liked me, but then makes zero effort to do anything and just whines, and I just, I hate it. It brings out a really dark side of me. It's bad. It's really bad. Have you played Stardew Valley?
Yeah, but I'm bored of this anecdote, so...
Okay, well, I thought it was funny, but fine. So yeah, Dreamlight Valley. What were you going to mention about Dreamlight Valley?
I was just going to say that it's an absolute bullshit game.
Oh, yeah.
I've all of the Disney characters are like, well, no, you rock up, and Merlin's like, oh, help, all of the magic is being taken from Dreamlight Valley. And you're like, okay, number one, you're a wizard. Deal with it yourself. Number two, I've just walked in here. I don't know who you are. I don't know what anything is. And then Scrooge McDuck is like, oh, I'm a multi-billionaire, but sorry, you've got to pay to get all of the other villagers back to the village. It's bullshit. Why am I holding this village up on my shoulders? It's like Animal Crossing, but with Disney characters. and all of it's made me really hate Disney characters because they're just lazy and annoying. And Goofy keeps knocking about and he's like fishing and stuff. And he's just like watching me fish. And I'm like, mate, I'm not interested. It's just creepy.
That is creepy. Goofy's an absolute perv.
He's not though. But in the Dreamlight Valley, he absolutely is.
Yeah, who would have known like Goofy to be the weirdo?
All of these sort of cozy games that just end up making me very angry. I need to stop playing them.
Yeah, I think that's something we both have in common, apparently. Yours is Dreamlight Valley and mine's Stardew Valley. Both the Valley games. They're just rage-inducing. What topic do you have for us?
I've got a story of intrigue and sadness. And actually, I think it's really interesting as a psychological... From a psychological aspect. That was me.
Okay.
I desperately tried to make myself seem intelligent then and just completely fell on my arse. All right. I'm going to try and pull this together as best as I can because these are old notes. And I had to pull them from various places and there's like a million tabs. So
okay.
I'm going to tell you about a particular incident on the Jenny Jones Show, which was a American talk show, a daytime talk show. Hosted by...
I think I've heard of that one.
A lady called Jenny Jones. Yeah, so... So the Jenny Jones Show was initially put on air at the tail end of 1991. So we're going back a bit old school.
Yep.
What were you doing in 1991? Being 5? Being 5 years old? Just ambiently being 5.
Yeah, 5 and then I'd have turned 6. So what have I been doing then? First year of school?
Mm-hmm.
Primary school, so just being a annoying child, probably, knowing me.
Okay, I was just thinking maybe you would have heard of this case, but I suppose...
I wouldn't have thought so.
No, not if you were that young.
On. No.
Okay, well, fine.
What were you doing in 91?
Screw that anecdote then. I don't know, I was probably whinging in the back of my dad's car, because I was like 1. So I wouldn't have heard of it either.
Okay. Fair enough. So, yeah, neither of us will have first-hand experience of this story. Okay.
But the thing is, so the Jenny Jones Show, it's not a thing anymore, but it was, in its heyday, it was one of those big names alongside other daytime talk shows. So for the first season, if you like, it really is kind of a safe show, you know, as far as daytime talk shows go. There was like a segment where people would send in photos of their babies being cute. They had someone on to talk about puppies, you know, things like that. It was really easy watching. And
so not like Jerry Springer throwing chairs all over the place.
Well, the host, Jenny Jones, she had a really active role in the production of the show, really. I mean, obviously it had its own producers, but she really wanted it to be a sort of caring, nice show, nothing,
like,
you know,
cozy,
controversial
sort of easy
and
watching
everything.
Stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it also covered things like celebrities, fashion, and cooking. I suppose kind of not unlike This Morning that we have in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just lots of bits and bobs, but it was Jones was hosting all of these segments that would have, you know, little prizes for a live studio audience, and maybe there'd be segments where someone would phone in to nominate a local community hero, and then they'd come on and they'd be like, "Oh, look at you, you're amazing." So lots of bits and bobs and everything.
Sounds quite sweet.
Yeah, and then it was doing well enough, and then at the start of 1992, Jenny Jones did an episode where she talked about her problems with complications from silicone breast implants, which she'd had for like 11 years, and it had been an ongoing problem. So the implants had ruptured, and then she decided that she was going to talk about it on her show, because it was one of those things that people wouldn't really come onto a daytime TV show and be like, "Oh my god, my tits exploded," you know, because it would be seen as something, you know, inappropriate, but it is a problem, and you know, that kind of medical malpractice and the health concerns around it. And this episode was really impactful, and as a direct result of that, well, that's what they say in all of the newspaper articles and everything, the producers and Jenny decided that they were going to take a bit of a different turn for the show.
They're going to go rogue a little bit.
Yeah, however, just for context, the Jerry Springer Show had started by that point.
Right,
yes.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Basically, so after this lovely, like, soft puppies and nice things, when the Jenny Jones Show decided to go to, you know, a single topic per episode, it wasn't all, you know, oh, this horrible thing happened to me with my breast implants, which was an important episode. It was things that were a little bit, a bit of a taste of the Jerry Springer side of things. You know what I mean?
They're chasing that controversy, yeah.
Yeah, so more serious topics that they really wanted to cover, but they really wanted to keep the idea of it being caring, you know, about Jenny being this very empathetic, which by all accounts she was, this very empathetic person who was giving people an opportunity to tell their story. But as I say, we're talking going from, here's a segment where you can put your hand in this big purse that I bring out and you can get $100. Now we're going to move to a segment called My Stepfather is Now My Lover.
Right, okay.
Yep.
She's gone dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, that is dark and horrendous.
Yeah.
But it was the way that it was made, it was entirely different to how the Jerry Springer show were. I mean, I think there is Jerry Springer show episodes where horrible shit like that happens, but it's never done in a tasteful manner. It has like a soundboard and people throwing chairs and fighting and everything. And allegedly, the Jerry Springer show did bring on actors, hired actors.
Yeah, I'd heard that as well, that it just chased controversy whether or not it was actually true.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
and
think
also
people played
like,
up to it as well.
I don't know if you've ever seen a Jerry Springer episode, but even in the episodes which are really, really important topics like racism and, you know, they have the Ku Klux Klan on, Jerry's just been a knobhead in the background. Like, he doesn't do anything. Like, I mean, yeah, rest in peace. But he just kind of just says stupid one-liners off at the side. And even like there's one I saw a while ago where this guy was having sex with his horse, and the soundboard guy is just going mental, and you're like, oh my god, this is a horrible thing that's happening, and you're taking the piss. Like, this guy needs help.
Yeah,
it wasn't
I see it
like
as
that.
Like the Daily Sport or whatever, where it's just, or you know, like those sort of magazines where it's just all obviously fake stories, but presented as almost like a comedy journalist thing. I don't think half the stories on Jerry Springer were actually real. They can't have been.
Oh no, I agree. But the Jenny Jones show was, even though it might have had kind of sensationalist headlines on the sensationalist show titles, it wasn't like Jerry Springer, and they prided themselves on that. Like, as I say, Jenny Jones was still very much involved in the in the topics, so if she didn't want to do it, then it wouldn't happen. But it was still mostly things like, my wife is cheating on me with whoever, and you know, all of this stuff. But there wasn't any nudity, no boobs, and no fighting or anything like that, which set it aside from Jerry Springer very much, and also other sort of controversial topic daytime talk shows at the time.
So at least it sounds like it's trying to be respectful, even though they were obviously chasing the potentially more controversial subjects.
Well, yeah, I mean, that is a case of, okay, well, we've got to make money. How are we going to do that?
Yeah.
You know,
fair enough.
Some of the shows would have a repeated theme, like some parents would bring on their teen who was being a bastard, and then they send them off to a boot camp sort of thing. And another thing that happened was a secret crush episode.
Okay.
So
intriguing.
Yeah. So they actually would, in every show, they would actively put up a phone number and, you know, contact her if you have a problem, or if there's something, you know, if you have a secret crush, you know, things like that you can just phone in. So they had this episode about secret crushes. Also, by the way, anyone who was invited onto the show, they weren't paid anything, but they might be put up in a hotel and they might get some of their lost wages given back if they had to not work. So it wasn't even that, like, people wouldn't go on to get some money. They wouldn't make up something to get on, but that meant that the people on it were a lot more real, which means that they're not going to come on and start shouting and screaming and be like, being a character and everything.
Yeah, do you think they'd maybe do it for like a free like stay in a hotel type thing, away from home, like a weekend away or whatever? Or
no, I don't think so. I think it was really more for a lot of them. It was because there would be people seeking help, a bit like the Jeremy Kyle show in the UK. Like a lot of people went on that because they were genuinely seeking help, and then they never got it because that show was a disgrace. But this one, they were actually quite keen to help. But then you have these episodes about revealing a crush. Which, I mean, to me, if I have a crush on someone, I wouldn't take them on TV to reveal it. That's a bit of an overkill, in my opinion.
Yeah, do you think you'd have to be extremely confident, or do you think you'd have to lack confidence to do it that way?
I don't know. I think that a certain kind of person would be the one to take their crush on TV to reveal it. Someone very extra. And, those people definitely do exist.
Yeah, the sort of people that propose at someone else's wedding.
Yeah, I suppose.
Sort of, yeah, like main character syndrome type thing, where it's like, this is going to be interesting for everyone, and it might not be.
Yeah. So this particular episode wasn't just called A Secret Crush, it was called Revealing the Same-Sex Secret Crush.
Okay.
Reminder, this 90s. Was in 1995, this episode, which was going to be its original air date, but it was never actually aired. It's not, the conversation around gay rights and gay pride and that sort of thing. It's bubbling up, but there was certainly a lot of prejudices still knocking around. So
was it becoming more sort of like mainstream to talk about it then? Was this the start of it? Was that what they were kind of chasing, the sort of cutting edge sort of type?
I don't know. Views? To be honest with you, the fact that the episode was called Revealing Your Same-Sex Secret Crush, that's very sensationalist. Like, I know that they say that they weren't trying to be sensationalist or trying to make it into this caring thing, but I mean, it's a little bit much. The fact that they're specifying it's the same-sex secret crush as well.
Yeah, so it sounds like they're trying to play both angles a little bit of like, oh yeah, we're like caring and, this is a hot topic at the minute and we support it all, but actually they just want a nice juicy headline to get people to watch.
Yeah. In this episode, there was a couple of couples, if you like, who were brought on, but we're only going to focus on one particular couple. So I'm going to tell you about one boy, Scott Amadure. I don't know if I pronounced his name right. I have tried. So he was about 32, and he was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1963. And he had a job he worked behind a bar. He was quite a, like an out there kind of person, an extra person. So won't be a surprise to you to hear that he was the one who called the show, the Jenny Jones Show.
Okay.
Now,
am I right in assuming that he's on his word camp when you say extra, or is he more just very sort of
No, he's not,
confident?
But you have worked out that he was gay.
Well, yeah, you said it was same sex.
Yeah. So he was gay, openly gay, and he was a bit of a daytime talk show addict, apparently.
Okay, fair enough. Sounds like a decent enough guy.
Yeah, like I don't know if maybe he was watching the show a lot, and then they did a call for secret crushes, and he thought, oh, I'll this is my chance to get on or something. Yeah. I think he wanted the experience, possibly. I mean, I don't know, obviously, but he was one of those people who would be excited to be on TV.
Yeah, and you said he was openly gay, so everyone, like his family and his friends, knew, or was this okay?
He actually he was in he dropped out of high school. And then he went to join the army when he was like 17. So, possibly as a result of that, I couldn't find exactly why, but I think maybe there was a little bit of PTSD there, possibly because he did end up with a bit of a problem with substance abuse, to the point where he had to be in rehabilitation programs on two different occasions.
Would that have been the time of the Gulf War, mid-90s?
Possibly. I mean, when it says substance abuse, and I don't know what that means. I couldn't find anything specific. But I think substance abuse definitely doesn't just mean alcohol and weed. I think it's something a bit harder than that. And of course, like the gay scene in America, like there's quite a lot of drugs knocking about at that time. It was just kind of went along with the party sort of atmosphere, and being a bartender, I think that was kind of, he was a bit of a party boy, and he liked to have a good time.
Bit hard to avoid it, I imagine, working in a bar. So
oh yeah.
I'm sure he had his reasons.
Yeah,
I'm certainly not judging.
Yeah, definitely. But he was single at the time, and he had past relationships. But he, as far as I can tell, he was relatively, he was well liked, and he had a friend, Donna Riley, and she also had a friend, Jonathan Schmitz. Now, what happened was, Jonathan Schmitz was helping Donna, but he was underneath her car doing something or other. He was a mechanic, Jonathan Schmitz. He was 24 years old, Jonathan Schmitz. And I'm just going to keep saying his name. Jonathan Schmitz.
It's a good name. Good, strong name.
When Scott met Jonathan, because of him working on his friend's car, he fancied him a lot.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't really say, as far as I can see, they had a friendship, just a sort of, they both know Donna, so they end up having a bit of a friendship, maybe a bit of a chat and everything.
Yeah, it sounds like did you say Scott was the guy that worked in the bar?
Yeah.
It sounds like he was quite a sociable guy, so yeah, it's not unbelievable that he would just make friends with people fairly easily.
And because he's extra, he's not going to tell Jonathan that he's got a crush on him in person. He's going to do it on TV.
Okay. I dread to think where this is going. The fact that it's our podcast topic means it's probably not going to go well. Fair enough.
He calls the show. He says, I've got a crush and I'm gay and I don't think he is, but I really like him. So the producers call Jonathan and say, look, we want to invite you onto the Jenny Jones show. You've got a secret admirer. You've got a secret crush. Will you come on? And he goes, oh, okay. Now, this is where it gets a bit sad. So I was doing a bit of research into it, some of the information coming from what would end up being a court case. And it seems that Jonathan was... So he was 24 and he had been in a relationship with someone for a long time and had split up. And he still had a lot of strong feelings for this person. So because the show didn't explicitly say, obviously they didn't say who it was because it was a secret admirer, but they didn't explicitly say this is going to be a same-sex admirer. He was very much led to believe that this would be someone of the opposite sex, and he really thought that it was going to be this ex who he really wanted to start things up again with.
Yeah, this doesn't sound great.
Or possibly someone at work who he had flirted with and liked and everything. So there's a little bit of, there's different information everywhere, and I'm going to get onto that a bit later as well, the way that the information is, there's a little bit of contradictory information that'll come out a bit later. So he agreed to go, but it really didn't seem like it was just like a fun thing for him, for Jonathan. He was at that point in his life where he really wanted to get his shit together, and he wanted to really start his life, proper. So he went and bought clothes. He got himself all spruced up, thinking he was going to see this person that he really wanted to get back with and everything. So he's actually quite excited, I think. And he comes onto the show. He comes on by himself, so he's not with anybody. He's not with what was her name again? Donna?
Oh, the mutual friend, yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't even come with the mutual friend. Now, Scott goes with the mutual friend, Donna.
So she's there with them both.
Yeah, so Scott goes to the show with Donna, and then Jonathan goes by himself. So the way that the show worked was that the person with the crush would be on the stage first. In this case, it was Scott on stage with Donna. Donna would be brought on as a kind of, because she was the mutual friend, but she was the emotional support, I suppose.
Yeah. Makes sense, like a chaperone almost.
In another room, wearing headphones so he couldn't hear anything was Jonathan. Jonathan couldn't hear anything or see anything that was happening on the stage. He has no idea that he's going to walk onto stage and see this guy, the mutual friend of the friend that he was fixing the car of.
Right, yeah, okay.
There is actually a clip online of the show, even though it wasn't aired. And it's, when you find out what happens, it's very weird to watch. So It starts out and you've got your lad, Scott, and he is extra. He's quite giggly and he's very excited, but it gets a little bit, for me, I would be a little bit uncomfortable because one of the things that he says is that, well, Jenny says, what did you think when you first met him? And he says something along the lines of, oh, well, he was under the car, so I only saw the bottom half, ha. And then the audience is like, oh, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
But then she starts to almost bait him to start saying even more slightly inappropriate, a bit creepy things, to the point where she asks him, have you had any fantasies or thoughts about it? And Scott starts going on about how he had this thought about them being in a garden in a hammock or something, and how there's going to be whipped cream and this.
God.
And the audience is like, ooh.
This sounds gross. Not the act of it, but the open discussion and the baiting. This doesn't. Right.
I think it was gross to me as a pansexual person, because it really felt like it was making out that the sexuality was just something not serious, to not be taken seriously. Like, if a guy sat on a stage and said that his female friend, he'd had thoughts like that about her, it'd be like, oh, gross. But because it's a gay guy, it's funny, I mean, there's no reason for someone to be just as uncomfortable if someone of the same sex is saying stuff and you're not into them, like even if someone was into me and they were on a stage saying that they were going to put whipped cream on me and they'd fantasized about me, it's like, okay, you just openly said that you've wanked about me on a stage. I don't know, that's the kind of thing that you expect anyway from someone who fancies you, but you don't say it, do you?
No, especially not on TV and stuff. It is very inappropriate, but maybe given in the show the benefit of the doubt, maybe they fed off his extraness, his thing. I still find it really creepy, don't get me wrong, but maybe when things just escalate and this Scott is quite open and, from what I imagine, happy to talk about these things, maybe they saw that and thought, this is going to make great TV, and he's obviously happy talking about it. But where it gets creepy is obviously Jonathan hasn't agreed for all this discussion, although obviously it's not his fantasy, it's still involving him, isn't it? And that's where I think the problem lies. It is a bit gross.
The producers actually, they did claim that when they asked Jonathan on, they said that, okay, so your admirer might be a male or a female. They did claim that, but they claimed it, after the fact, when it all kicked off.
Yeah, bit difficult that one to know whether it's true or not. I mean, you said there's a court case, so I'd have to go with what evidence they saw and the outcome of that, but yeah.
So in the clip you can see that the mood in the studio is very sort of giggly, like in a I suppose in an innocent manner, but they do push it a little bit too far, I think. And then the whole time there's this guy, I mean, he's only 24 in the back, Jonathan, and he's like, he's one of those, just looks like your standard all-American bloke, He's just sat there with his headphones, no idea what's about to go on. And you can see that he's a little bit nervous. Like, to me, I thought that he looked a little bit nervous. They ask him on. So on he comes onto the stage, the raucous cheer, and everything. And he sees Donna and he sees Scott. And he thinks at first that Donna is the one who has the secret crush.
Yeah, and I was thinking it might go that way.
Yeah, he's very, you can see that he's like, I don't think that he would have reciprocated. I think he was obviously a bit disappointed. I think that's apparent. But then Jenny Jones says, what if I told you it's not Donna who's got the crush, it's Scott? And that's when this really weird thing happens. Jonathan, who was sat down next to them now, so Jonathan is sat next to Scott and then Scott sat next to Donna. As soon as Jenny Jones says that and the audience goes, whoa, Jonathan turns to Scott and he says, you lied to me. I mean, he says it in a like, oh, you lied to me way, but there's something in that. There's something dark in there.
Right, okay.
Mm.
I've gone from sort of cringing at the thought of this, like how awkward it's going to be, to, yeah, intrigue now.
I wonder what that meant. I wonder what it meant when he turned to him and said, you lied to me.
Yeah. I wonder if he'd openly... if the guy's openly gay, I wonder if Jonathan had already asked Scott, was he interested? Maybe Scott said no.
No, I don't think so. Not according to what they'd said. Not according to what Scott had said while he was being interviewed by Jenny. It was a surprise, but I don't know if maybe they said that they were going to be... Maybe Jonathan had tried to find out a little bit more information about who he was going to be seeing on this show, and he talked to his friend Donna.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he was talking to Donna or to Scott.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So
mysterious.
As after this, there's this. It's really awkward because at this point, like they've had like a hug and everything on the stage and everything, and just the mood completely changes. But he's. I think the fact that he's on stage is just overwhelming to him, and he's a little bit like a deer in the headlights. But he says, with a laugh, that he is definitely heterosexual. Like, definitely draw a line into that. Sorry, I'm not gay, so I'm flattered, sort of thing.
Okay, seems to be taking it well then.
Yeah, I think he's a bit surprised and not entirely happy.
Probably a bit overwhelmed. Yeah. I mean, I would be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd be absolutely fine with, a gay friend having a crush on me or whatever, but to be on TV in front of everyone and up on a stage having it announced to me when I was expecting maybe something different, I think even I would be quite rattled.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After they get off the stage, apparently it wasn't actually that awkward. The three of them went out that night, went out for a few drinks, and it was all fine. They were going to stay mutual friends, apparently.
Okay.
Until 3 days later.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
When things have maybe been processed, I guess?
Yeah, see, what happens is Jonathan has been out with his friends, and he comes back home to find a note.
Right.
I think it was just taped on his door or something. And in the court case, it said it was a suggestive note, inverted commas. Now, from what I can gather, the note said something along the lines of, because remember, Jonathan's a mechanic. The note said something along the lines of, to fix this, I have the right tool, or something like that. I have the right tool for you to fix,
right.
to fix things, or whatever.
Okay.
It was flirtatious. Now, some sources say that he left a few suggestive notes, or across a number of time. Remember, they wouldn't have had mobile phones necessarily at that time, so it wouldn't have been leaving little notes of mild sexual harassment.
Yeah,
it was the only way that he could do it.
Old analog style. Yeah,
that's
what we had to do back then.
Yeah. So after he got this sexually suggestive note, Jonathan wasn't happy. He was very angry. And he went, and immediately he went and bought a 12-gauge shotgun.
Right, okay. This doesn't sound like it's going to be a rational reaction.
No. Well, he finds the note, and then he goes into town to withdraw money from the bank.
Right.
And then he goes and buys a shotgun. And then he has to drive all the way to Scott's home, which is a mobile home, on a trailer park, I guess.
Yeah. Was the note explicitly signed by Scott?
I think, it was generally agreed that it was written by him, yes.
And it was signed as such, it wasn't...
I guess so.
That could always be faked, couldn't it? So, yeah, I guess it's kind of irrelevant.
No, I mean, I guess so. I don't know if you recognise his handwriting or if there'd been a few of them.
Fair enough.
But
okay,
he gets to the guy's house, his mobile home, and Scott opens the door, and Jonathan says, "Did you leave this note?" Just to clarify. He already knows that he did, but he specifically asked him if he left the note. And then apparently, rather than saying yes or no, Scott just gave him a little smile. You know, a sort of smile. And then Jonathan turns around, goes back to his car, gets the gun from the car, comes back up to the doorstep and shoots Scott twice in the chest. Point blank.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I even had the, clarity of thought to leave the gun in the car.
Yeah.
And then go back for it. This doesn't sound like it was a quick sort of decision, a quick mistake. He had to go get the cash, get the gun. He even left it in the car to give Scott almost like a second chance. This is very, well, it's obviously premeditated, but this is very, he had many chances to reconsider his actions and still did it anyway.
This is the thing. This is what makes me think that this wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction. This was something that may have been bubbling under a little bit for 3 days.
Right, yeah.
Because he finds the note and his immediate reaction is, right, okay, I'm going to do it. But then he has to go and get money from the bank. He's got, and it took ages to do that crap in the 90s. If you wanted to go, you had to stand in line. You had to muck about with a bank teller. You had to do all sorts. And then he has to go and buy a gun, which you can't just walk in, despite what as British people think, you can't just walk into a shop and buy a gun. You have to go through a process.
Yeah, well, I know they do sell guns in, I don't know if it's in Walmart or whatever,
I know.
In similar sort of stores. So I don't think you have to send off.
No, you don't have to
send
off
to the government or whatever.
But you do have to sign papers and things, right? I mean,
yeah, true.
And what I mean is, it's not like you pick something off the shelf and take it to the counter.
Yeah,
it's like a considered purchase,
Yeah. So what happened to Scott with 2 to the chest? That's brutal.
Well, it killed him immediately.
Right, okay.
Now, very calmly, after this, Jonathan got back in his car, went and found a phone, called the police, and told them, I've just killed someone. I've just shot them.
Right. This sounds really, scary, this guy, that he's just calm about it. God. And you said it was Scott that was in the military?
Yeah, he had been in the military, yes.
I thought that might explain it if Jonathan had been in the military and, seen this stuff and become desensitized to it. But, yeah, I can't imagine there's much calling for that as a mechanic.
Jonathan had supposedly, he had a lot of problem with mental illness in the past.
Right.
So he had been supposedly diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Bipolar disorder is nuts. It's not very nice. You can have insane mood swings, and you don't have any control over those mood swings necessarily. He also had struggled with suicidal tendencies. He had not had a good childhood, apparently. He's had an abusive childhood. He was just supposedly not an emotionally stable person. So the fact that he'd been brought onto this show and publicly humiliated, I suppose, may have been something that switched something in his head.
Yeah, I imagine once that initial awkwardness of isn't this weird, then he's had 3 days to dwell on it and be like, hang on, they made a fool of me. Maybe other people had made comments, had seen him or had heard what happened, and then Scott with the note or notes if there was many. It just escalated in Jonathan's head by the sounds of things. Awful.
When it went to trial, Jonathan's defense lawyers obviously used the Jenny Jones TV show as an indication of a problem, and they ended up using they really hammered home the whole homosexual topic of the show with what's called it is actually called this the gay panic defense.
Right. Yeah.
Which is
The whole gay panic thing, yeah.
Yeah. So it's the idea that there is reasoning behind somebody murdering someone who fancies them if they are the same gender because you have an unwanted sexual advance sort of thing.
Yeah, I can understand how that could happen. I don't necessarily agree. It's a very extreme reaction, isn't it? And it doesn't justify it in any way. It's just I can understand why it might happen.
Yeah.
To certain people that may have been raised certain ways or
absolutely.
have certain views.
So to be honest with you, having an unwanted sexual advance put on you is a reason to get angry at someone. I don't know about killing them, but the gay panic defense is really more about the idea that you lose control completely and there is a violent reaction because of the sexuality and this sort of the panic around it, everything involved, especially at the time, the idea of it being like a humiliation or a
to even be involved
worried
in gay.
Yeah, it's like it. So I'm not really explaining it very well, but the best way that I think I understand it as being is this idea, the gay panic defense isn't supposed to just be talking about males or people who are born male, but I think, as far as I'm aware, it tends to be the case, statistically, just because if you're male, you're more likely to react in a physically violent manner, just because that's
I think as well there's maybe more stigma around back then. I don't know. I've never experienced it from
what I was going to say was that it reminds me of, I remember some males that I used to talk to would be that they didn't like a gay co-worker because they weren't sure if he fancied them. And I remember saying, do you assume that every woman in here fancies you? Yeah. Why it's this strange idea that if someone is gay, that means that they automatically want to shag you, and that you might take that as read and then be made uncomfortable. But it's an assumption and an assertion that is completely incorrect. And in the same way, it's like, okay, do you as a straight male, does that mean you fancy literally every female? It's like that, but. Yeah. With the gay panic defense, it doesn't separate that. It just assumes that you're going to be actively
sought after.
Yeah.
It was a weird one because I do remember, because you said this was about early 90s, so I'd been in primary school, and I remember being young and stupid, and every time something this person's gay or whatever, and you just reacted in such a stupid way and made such stupid assumptions. I at least had the defense of being an absolute idiot child that would have been 6 or 7 years old, and thankfully the people I hung out with, or the teachers or whatever, taught us right from wrong and educated us properly. But I do remember especially that time, and I imagine it wasn't just children back then, didn't really know what being gay was, so there were a lot of assumptions made. It was just a lack of education, I think.
It's so unnecessary. I mean, there wasn't any indications whatsoever that Jonathan was, a homophobe. That's the word that I'm looking for.
Right.
And it is unnecessary because, he was made uncomfortable. When someone really fancies you and is leaving you kind of flirty, sexually suggestive notes and you don't like them back, that's really uncomfortable, and it's not really relevant what their sexuality is. But I don't know.
Especially after being on the show and being made a fool of, and then the flirting carries on. That almost feels like he's carrying on the mocking.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, you've embarrassed me on TV, and now you're just carrying on as if it's all, I'm some joke. I can see why. Obviously, the reaction is very extreme, but I could understand why Jonathan has, he's already playing this over in his head of, I've been made a fool of, and then you get a note when you've clearly said no.
Yeah.
And you get a note just going, oh, maybe though. It's like,
yeah.
It feels like, from Jonathan's point of view, I can imagine it felt like Scott was carrying on trying to humiliate him. is what I'm getting from it.
Maybe, yeah. I think there is a real uncomfortableness to it, especially because this was someone who we considered a friend. I mean, not like close friends or anything, but see, I've had it before with someone who used to be my friend. She very obviously had a massive crush on me, and I did not feel the same way at all back. And it got to the point where I started to feel kind of uncomfortable, and I ended up having to just cut things off really, because I just you know, like you kind of feel a bit bad because they're your friend. Then it almost feels like for me, when that's happened in the past, it felt as if my sister or my brother was hitting on me because of how I felt about them. You know, that was, you know, I liked them and I cared about them. But then, you know, so I understand, like, I'd be really, and I'd probably be quite angry in
I
his
feel
situation.
Quite bad for Jonathan, in all honesty. Like, his reaction was over the top, and, you know, you can't justify murder, especially in such a premeditated way. But I feel really bad for him. He's obviously mentally unwell.
Yeah.
And prone to extreme reactions, and it feels like he just feels like he's been made a fool of and has lashed out in a very unfortunate way. There's
another layer to this which I'm going to add very shortly. Okay. By the way, this is like I don't want to sound at all like I'm victim blaming, because it's not cool, it's not okay, and I think not. That there was a lot of homophobia intertwined into this case with the media coverage and everything, and then of course using the gay panic defense, you know, as if he reacted so violently because of the sexuality. Like it seems unlikely that if Scott had been a female and acting like this, it seems kind of unlikely that he would have reacted that way. So I think it certainly had a part to play. Certainly.
Yeah. I think that, especially at the time, it adds to the humiliation he probably felt of maybe. It's difficult to sort of see things from a different time's perspective, especially when we were so young and don't remember a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I can definitely see how that would play a part of everyone's laughing at me because, you know, this gay guy came on to me. Yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. I just feel sad for everyone involved at the minute. It's just awful all round. Mm-hmm. But you say there's an extra layer to it, so I am now intrigued again.
So, I think they did try to go to a first-degree murder charge, but in the end, the jury convicted Jonathan of second-degree murder.
I don't really know the difference between the degrees. Is first degree like premeditated, you've planned it for ages, and second degree is almost like a crime of passion, you know, where you've just done it in the moment? Is that...
So the difference between second-degree murder and first-degree murder is that a first-degree murder would need to be very premeditated. Now, this is interesting to me because the first-degree murder him buying a weapon specifically to kill Scott, that would definitely come under the first-degree murder definition. But the jury ended up going with second-degree. Now, second-degree murder is, so like shooting someone because you're pissed off with them after an argument, you know, or, you know,
sort of
punching someone outside of Wetherspoons and they fall over and they die. That's second-degree murder.
Yeah, sort of caught up in the moment by the sounds of things rather than planning it for however long.
Yeah, so even though he did plan it on the day, I don't know if they thought that he hadn't planned it for long enough, that it was the note that
I suppose
made
he could
him
still
switch.
Be feeling that effect of that rage that he felt. So I personally would think it was first degree because he'd had time to reconsider his actions, but I can understand why they went with second degree, because how do you decide how long that moment of madness lasts? You know, if it was a few hours, you know, you don't always calm down within a few hours. So
also, we know that he was really, really mentally unwell, and he just ended up spiraling very, very quickly. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, really.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so it makes sense. There's nothing that I've been like, what the absolute fuck when it comes to the trial, other than the initial crime. But
So he was sentenced for 25 to 50 years in prison, and he became eligible for parole in 2017, and he was granted it. So he's out and about, and I would hope that he got the counselling and therapy that he needed.
Yeah. So he was in prison for over 20 years, if it was early 90s to 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, about 25 years.
That's the court done. But while this was going on, just like shortly before the conviction happened, another court case started.
Okay.
So in August 1995, Scott's family decided that they were going to sue the Jenny Jones Show and their parent company, Warner Brothers.
Fairly reasonable reaction, I suppose.
I thought that as well, yes. So Scott's family said, look, Scott's dead and you guys were negligent. You had him on the show. You didn't do any screening with Jonathan. You made him think that he was going to see a female friend or someone that he really liked. The family really felt that he had been like ambushed. He'd come on to he'd called the show and said, look, I've got a secret crush and it's a guy, and the show were like, yes, brilliant, that's gonna get us loads of views, this is fantastic. And
it does sound a bit shady.
Yeah, so Jenny Jones did actually go onto the dock and she defended herself, and obviously there was a lot of media buzz around it, and the producers had to come on and talk and everything. Now, this is something that's kind of mad to me. So it went on for quite a while, this case. And I believe it was after Jonathan had been put in prison. Right. One of the producers at the lawsuit trial, dropped a bombshell, which for some reason they had not dropped when there'd been the court case against Jonathan himself. Apparently, what had happened was, the night after the taping, when they all went out on a night out, the next day, Scott phoned one of the show's producers. I believe it was the assistant producer. And this is, there's actually a video of the producer saying this in court. And she said that Scott had called and he said that him and Jonathan had kissed the night before, the night after the show. And they had what she described as a love connection.
Right, okay.
This is the day after, like the day after.
Yeah.
And she's a little bit vague, and to be honest, like the attorney is not impressed. The attorney questioning her is like, why didn't you say this during the trial of Jonathan? Why did you not think this is pertinent information? And she's like, oh, well, nobody asked us. And you're like, what, mate? Like, this is really important information. But she says that, like, she says, oh, he called and said they'd kiss. And then she says, he said that they'd hooked up, you know, so she's not being specific, you know, she's saying that, oh, they hooked up. No, I don't know what hooked up means or anything.
Well, hooked up means they had sex.
Well, no, because at first she says it was just a kiss, and then the next day it was Scott had described it as a love connection.
Oh, right. Okay.
Whatever that means. And it is difficult to try and work out what the hell. And the entire time she's like smiling, and she's like, she doesn't seem to be taking it very seriously. Now, on that video that I found on the archive, it said that it was a bogus claim. But so supposedly a friend, I mean, sources are difficult, but a friend did say that Scott and Jonathan had an alleged sexual encounter. And then there's other sources that said it was an unwanted sexual encounter. But here's the thing. They went out and they were drinking, and Jonathan did have a little bit of a drinking problem. Supposedly, according to a news article in the New York Times about his eventual conviction, the night before he did the killing, he had been up pretty much all night just drinking.
Right, okay.
So he could drink a lot, I think. And I'm just wondering exactly what happened that night after the show, because I'm wondering if Jonathan was hammered and Scott maybe not as hammered, but hammered, and maybe like, you know, a little kiss happened or something, and you know, just and then Scott was reading too much into it, and then the next day he's like, oh my god, we kissed, and we have a love connection, and meanwhile Jonathan is like, oh my god, I have the worst hangover, that was awful, because everyone's done that, everyone's had a regrettable incident while they were completely hammered.
This sounds messy, and
it is messy, but then again, if it was an unwanted sexual advance.
Well, this is it. I don't want to speak ill of anyone, because obviously Scott, I don't want to be like, oh, Scott's done some really awful things while drunk to Jonathan.
I'm not getting that vibe just from the fact that supposedly he called the producer the next day and was all excited, and I don't know. I think something happened.
Why Scott sees it that way of he was maybe taken advantage of while drunk, but then if Scott was drunk as well, it's this is messy, and like I say, I feel bad for everyone involved. Like Scott lost his life, and Jonathan lost 25 years of his life. It sounds like he wasn't in the best mental state. This is messy.
No, he definitely needed support and access to support, and his appearance on the show was. To be honest, I don't think I would have thought that anything like this would have happened from seeing them. You know, to be fair, his reaction was, he wasn't like disgusted or anything. He was quite polite, and you know, it's mad that then 3 days later he's shooting a guy in the chest. Apparently the buckshot went straight through his heart, so I think he died pretty much immediately.
But I'd wonder how much of that, like, taking it well was because the cameras were on him. I don't want to paint a bad picture of him, because I honestly don't know. But that would be my first sort of thinking of, okay, he seemed to take it well initially, but you're never going to get someone's genuine reaction when there's cameras and studio lights and an audience.
Yeah.
You know, some people can, beneath the surface, they're absolutely seething, but to keep up public appearances, they keep calm. I know I do that sometimes. I don't like to react strongly around people.
That's what Scott's family said. They said that the producers had pretty much ambushed Jonathan.
Yeah.
You know, they'd thrown him on the stage, and then they should have known really that at the time it was a little bit risky to be just putting someone on the stage and saying that a gay friend, like, it is a bit unsafe. You know, it would be unsafe in the case of a trans person as well. You know, it's unsafe for the trans person, and it's unsafe for because you don't know where someone's mind is in that kind of thing, and some people react incredibly violently to that stuff. I mean, when I decided that I have I need to start going by he pronouns and my real name now, I had to explain it to a guy in the pub who was hitting on me, and he was adamant that my name wasn't Louis, and I was like, no, it is. And then he was like, right, so do you have a cock then? And I was like, I'm not telling you that. And he was getting really, really pissed off and angry because he'd fancied me, but he hated the idea of fancying someone who had a cock. And I was like, I was never going to sleep with you anyway, mate. And he was really angry, and I had to
panic, isn't
run away. Yeah, it was awful. But I mean, obviously, it's nothing like the incident in this case. Absolutely, you know, I got away, and I was just a drunken moron. But I mean, even today, that's a reaction that you can get from people. So, you know, like, it would have been dangerous for me if we'd have been brought onto a chat show, and then I say, you know, actually, I'm non-binary and I go by male pronouns, and then he just explodes, you know.
Yeah.
That's just an example, you know.
Oh, it seems like the showrunners and everyone involved in picking that particular topic and that scenario just didn't think what could happen. I mean, maybe there was a naivety back then of, we know more now about how people might react, but it was, it's wildly irresponsible of them.
Yeah. So
yeah.
In May 1999, the jury in the lawsuit case, they did rule in Scott's family's favour, and they awarded him $29 million.
Wow.
Yeah. However, the Time Warner took the court to appeal, and they decided that they would overturn it because they didn't think that the Jenny Jones show and the producers and everyone in it, they didn't think that they were liable for the actions of somebody who would eventually murder someone else. They just threw it out. Yeah, apparently, they was quoted as saying that the actions of Jonathan were unforeseeable.
That's just scummy to me. I hate it.
Do you?
Yeah, I just when it's already been ruled in the family's favour to just basically, it sounds like they threw money at it. When you said Time Warner or whatever, they're a massive company.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, we didn't agree with the first, thing. Let's get our presumably quite good lawyers that they could afford to just have a redo. If we didn't like the first verdict, let's have another one until we get what we want.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because, corporations, and all that stuff, but I hate it. That doesn't sit right with me. I think I don't think they intended for it to go that way, obviously. I don't think anyone's that bad to be like, oh, this is going to end up in murder. But they were irresponsible. Anyone can see that. They didn't, think how these people would react. They put these people in a embarrassing situation.
Yeah.
And yeah, all right, you couldn't predict that they'd have a drunken encounter afterwards, but they still put them in a shitty situation.
Yeah.
And what was it, 29 million, did you say, or something?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of
money.
That
is a bit. That's a hell of a lot. Like, I wouldn't have awarded that much money, but they should at least take some responsibility. And be like, yeah, okay, 29 million was a stretch. Like, contesting that's fine, because, it's not going to change anything, is it, ultimately? But they should still have took some responsibility. Anyone with any sense can see that, you set up this situation, something bad's going to happen, or is likely to happen. It's not guaranteed to happen. Just, no, I don't like it. It seems like they've just gone, nah, not our problem. And that I don't like at all, especially when the court had already ruled in the family's favour, albeit to quite an extreme level with 29 million.
Yeah. There was...
What do you think?
In a news conference afterwards, after Jonathan was found guilty and put down for 25 years, there was a conference afterwards, and members of the jury were asked about the case, and they were asked, do you think that the murder would have happened if both of these guys hadn't been presented like this on television? And both jurors said, no, probably not. So...
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's what I believe. I don't think... I mean, would Scott have revealed his crush in a different way? Maybe. But doing it on TV is so traumatic for someone like Jonathan, that was, got his hopes up about this ex or whatever, and then to just have that rug pulled out from you on live, well, not on live TV, on TV, even if it's, in front of a live audience, presumably. That's just humiliating to anyone.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for him. Feels like he'd just been set up and rug pulled for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. No, that's really sad. I really feel for him. I mean, he had plenty of time to reconsider his actions, so... He did.
He actually spent quite a while in the car with the gun before he got out and went up to the trailer.
Yeah. It sounds like he needs or needed help. I don't know if he still needs help or whether the 25 years behind bars did help him. I don't know, but I hope he gets the help he needs if he hasn't got it already. I feel for him. I really do. I mean, like I say, murdering someone is strong and not really forgivable, but I can understand it. And
well, if you're mentally ill,
that's it.
It's not. I don't know. I don't know. It's a really sad case. The Jenny Jones show did end up being taken off the air as a result of all of this in the end. But
at least that's something.
I would have hoped that as a result of that, now daytime talk shows do a fair bit of screening beforehand. People who are struggling with mental illness wouldn't be necessarily put on the stage in front of an audience.
Yeah, just look into their background of like, right, how might they react to this? If he already had a drinking problem, and, you know, this history with this ex that maybe he was hoping to get back together with.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a really, really sad case, but it's kind of, it is interesting from a psychological standpoint, and the fact that it was a successful talk show that just went a little bit too far, and what that meant for the future of it, and how that kind of thing is done. And then this, at what point do we stop making trash TV like that, you know, when we put people in danger?
Well, we obviously didn't learn, because trash TV has been going on for still.
Yeah,
but I know, didn't a similar thing happen to the Jeremy Kyle show, that it was taken off because of I don't know the incident. I don't think it was quite as extreme as murder. Or it might have been, I don't know. But I'm sure Jeremy Kyle ended on a similar fashion, where they got sued for negligence.
That was due to a suicide.
Oh, okay. So yeah, just as tragic. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we'll cover that on a future episode.
Oh, God.
I'd rather not. I never liked that show.
Yeah, so that was a very serious topic. I mean,
it's fascinating though. It is an interesting story.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting to me is the fact that a show like that obviously is exploiting people. And then as a direct result of that exploitation, someone ended up murdered and someone ended up in prison. And then we sort of, the whole media frenzy around it, and the idea of looking at ourselves like, who's to blame here? Is it the audience? Because the audience demanded that kind of content, and they were going to enjoy that kind of content. So, you know, where does it end?
Oh, yeah.
But then also, as another meta level to it, there's been plenty of documentaries about it. Yeah, even now. I mean, in 2021, it was covered in a How It Really Happened show, season 6 on US TV. And then it was called Fatal Attraction, which always makes me feel ill. You know, like it has that sort of sexy, you know, connotations to it. It's like, fuck off, dude. Someone died. It had an entire Netflix series made for it.
I mean, we're making a podcast about it now, so we're just as guilty.
Media. Yeah, I suppose. I suppose you kind of wonder what's the line between entertainment and telling a story that needs to be told, and how do you do that? No,
I think the documentaries are fine, because it's an event that's happened. No, you can't change that one way or another. And like you say, the societal analysis that can be done of, you know, the audience fed into it. You know, as a species, we are kind of drawn to that drama. That's why trash TV does so well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think as long as you're sort of learning from it and discussing it and giving it the weight that it deserves, you know, rather than making light of it, of, oh, this guy, you know, didn't like being called gay, or the potential that he could be gay. Isn't this hilarious that this all happened? As long as you're not treating it like that, I think serious discussion on any topic is helpful at times. Well, thank you for presenting that. I know, it wasn't the lightest of topics, but I think it was fascinating, and hopefully our listeners did too. Yeah. Have you got anything else to add on it, or is that?
I mean, where do you go after that? I mean,
yeah. It's one to dwell on, isn't it? Just to think on, which won't make a very interesting podcast if we're both just sat here thinking. But maybe it's one for our listeners to think of once the podcast is finished.
You know, Trisha Goddard.
Yes.
She's got a date. Well, she did have one in the UK. She did a segment in one of the episodes where she was helping out some young lad who was going to get married, and he was worried because they were going to have Scotch eggs at the reception, and he had a phobia of Scotch eggs.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
I can't imagine having a phobia of Scotch eggs.
Well, they helped him out, apparently. So it happened.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a very, very specific phobia, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I have a very specific phobia, which I only recently learned actually has a name. So that was actually kind of comforting to learn. Submechanophobia. And it's the fear of submerged, man-made objects, either partially or entirely underwater.
Oh, you were like the Old Man of the Lake, then?
I don't know what that is. Is that like a underwater statue?
The Old Man of the Lake is a 30-foot, which is 9 meters, tall tree trunk. And I think it was probably a hemlock one. It has been in the Crater Lake in Oregon, in the USA, since the late 1800s. And it's still there. It's this massive, massive tree trunk.
See, for me, the fear isn't... Like, I find like mossy things a bit gross, but the actual phobia, it has to almost... I think it has to be metal and mechanical, or like the thought of swimming alongside a cruise ship or a submarine when it's above the water, well, above or below the water. It just freaks me out. It's like a genuine phobia. I can't explain it. Just, yeah, it's... But apparently it's a real thing. I only found out in the last couple of months that it actually has a name, and it's a common thing. So that was, well, not common, but it's common enough to have a name. And there are other people that have it. I literally, I've never heard of anyone else that has it. So I thought it was just a weird thing that I had, but no, it's good to know. Yeah, but Scotch eggs is a new one by my standards, and I guess a relatively harmless one as far as it goes. Yeah, that was a nice light-hearted end to it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Hope that wasn't too traumatic for people, and
I feel really
found
tired
it fascinating.
Now. I'm gonna go and have a lie down. It's an emotional roller coaster.
Emotionally draining, but something to think on. I was quite fascinated by that. Thank you for bringing that story, and we'll hopefully people will listen to us next week.
Okay.
Right, thanks. Bye.